massive federal immigration enforcement operations. They're unfolding in Minnesota, where 3,000 officers have been deployed in what Minnesotans are describing as an unprecedented show of force. Joining us to discuss this and other developments around Mecklenburg County, Sheriff Garry McFadden. And of course, yesterday, Sheriff, a judge dismissed a petition seeking your removal from office. So that ruling also coming down here the pipeline. It didn't follow proper legal procedures. And yesterday, on your way out of the court, you said that nothing surprises you anymore, right?
No, nothing surprises me. This is the era of social media, and we should all understand that it is an election time, and people are going to do whatever they need to do to seek these offices or remove these offices. So we know it was an undermining tactic, and so we are happy that the judge ruled in the way that he did. So we're going to move forward and just respect the process or processes that happen and move forward. So we were glad the judge saw what was going on.
Yeah, you've said that, you wanted to respect the process, and whatever out of this investigation into this petition comes out, you're just going to leave it to the investigators and SBI. Now, your focus to move ahead, though, you've been able to do that through and since the decision.
Well, yes, we've always moved forward through all of the crisis. And you think about, under my leadership, I led through COVID. We led through Black Lives Matter movement. We led through the civil arrest of George Floyd and Tyrese Nichols. And so when I say that we just move forward, we have to have a leader that can continually to battle through all of this. And this is what leadership is about, battling through the times that even when people come against you, you stand firm and just trust or respect the process. If the process is done fairly, we're all for that. We just wanted to respect the process through this petition.
And so, yesterday as well, your attorney arguing that the petition needed the DA, the approval of that. Do you believe that this was just procedural technicality, if questions are going to still linger from your constituents?
Well, it is always going to linger. Things are always going to linger. Everybody doesn't love the sheriff. Everybody doesn't agree with the sheriff. So we understand that this is an ongoing fight. My fight began December 3rd in 2018, 30 minutes after I was elected. I was targeted by ICE and immigration through an interview. So my entire career as the sheriff has been a battle, but through these battles, we became a better sheriff and we became a better agency. So, it's not that we welcome the battles, but we actually understand the battles.
You've been busy since I saw you last, between the detention center, Jail North, last week, as well as the Sarah Stevenson forum earlier this week with other
Yes.
candidates. Working and balancing, trying to do what you need to do as sheriff of Mecklenburg County, as well as deal with the primary, less than 60 days away. How do you do all that?
Well, you take it under, some people say take it under advisement. So you have to be built for this. We're going to be targeted as elected leaders no matter what we do. I clearly understand that. And how we balance it is that we know that most of this is election rhetoric. Most of this is undermined by people working at the sheriff's office, or people who have left, the majority who left the sheriff's office, and they want to see something else different. So we understand that. Battling it is very difficult because most people don't understand that it not only affects me, it affects my family. And when it affects my family, then it affects my family's friends. But it also affects my staff, because my staff members can't go to the mall or go to the grocery store wearing a uniform, or if they find out that they are working for the sheriff's office, they get questioned by the public. So it is a very difficult life to live, but this is the life that I have lived for 40 plus years, or 4 decades in Charlotte. So I don't always welcome it, but I do expect it to happen continuously.
Let's talk about ICE. You said that you came into your position and ICE sort of being your following or part of your legacy. And now that we're seeing it on a national scale, of course, they came federal agents to Charlotte not too long ago. And now everything that's happening in Minnesota, I want to shift here to what's happening nationally. Unprecedented federal immigration officers now in Minnesota. What is your response to that? How are you talking? I know you talk to other law enforcement around the country. What's the conversation like that you can tell us?
Well, the conversation is that we're looking like a third world country. And I want to make sure that we distinguish the two. ICE and CBP are two different entities of the Department of Homeland Security. And so what we're seeing in, I believe, in Minnesota is CBP. I'm not sure about ICE. I know about Border Patrol in Minneapolis. I've had conversations all over the country as of yesterday, and we are talking about what is going on. Chiefs and sheriffs are having a difficult time maneuvering through this, even locally. If I have conversation with local authorities and local lawmakers and even local citizens, they are very, very much concerned. They are terrified here in Mecklenburg County about Border Patrol coming back. And who will stand up for our citizens? How much can law enforcement intervene, if they can intervene? Or can we have a conversation about what Border Patrol is going to do when they arrive here? We were thinking about just having a meeting of the department heads, law enforcement, about what are we going to do, how are we going to protect our citizens. What we're seeing in Minneapolis and Minnesota is unbelievable, and it is probably going to be worse. I had a conversation with a citizen prior to the young person getting shot in Minneapolis or Minnesota, and I said somebody else will get shot, and the next morning somebody was shot, but it was a shot in the leg, but they've still been shot. So we need to understand what is going on, which we don't understand. Why is it happening? Because when we hear the media say violent criminals, yes, every law enforcement wants violent criminals away from their cities. We could help remove these violent criminals if we had a plan. It doesn't look like there is any plan in any of these cities the way that Border Patrol is operating.
So the question then is, what can citizens do, not only around the country, but certainly here in Mecklenburg County, if you're talking about people being concerned that federal agents might be coming back?
Well, the first thing to do is know your rights. Know your rights, what you can do, you can't do. If someone's coming to search your property, you ask for the proper documentation. If they have a search warrant, or you could give consent to search. And then you have to understand, if you give them consent to search, they're going to search. So I think that the citizens need to know their rights, know what their do's and don'ts. Do not interfere with anything that law enforcement is doing. That is the main thing. Do not get so close to law enforcement or involved in what they're doing, because they may misunderstand your stance and you may misunderstand their stance. So that's one thing. Do not get involved in any arrests or anything like that.
Then can you refuse entry to federal agents without a warrant? And can you record these encounters? What are rights and rules? You
can record. Record at a distance, record safely, and if they do not have the authorization to come inside your home or your business through judicial order, then that is something that you're going to have to look at and consider. I can say, well, you can't do this and can't do that, but whatever happens in that moment, you're going to have to justify it and articulate it in court.
Let's talk about here in Mecklenburg County and the current policy with ICE. Where are you with ICE regarding cooperation and Border Patrol?
Well, let me say this again. There has never been not cooperation with ICE. That is just what I classified as a word salad with a lot of politicians and citizens. North Carolina General Statute, I'm going to put that on a t-shirt one day. North Carolina General Statute 162.62 mandated every sheriff, all 100 sheriffs in North Carolina, Democrat, Republican, black, white, independent, to cooperate with ICE. We have always cooperated with ICE. You will never hear a judicial official who is honest, or a lawmaker who is honest, or a law enforcement officer who is honest to say Sheriff McFadden has not followed the law. We've always followed the law. So our relationship and communication with ICE since October 17th has been good. ICE still operates here in Mecklenburg County under their guidelines. We haven't had a confrontation with them. The policy and the procedures that we put in place and agreed upon has worked very well. ICE removed several people from the detention center and also the courthouse with no problem, because they came and listened to what we need to do to make our city safe, make our citizens safe, and make our courthouse and detention center safe. So as far as ICE, we have cooperation. Yet to this day, to this very minute, we have not had a conversation with Border Patrol. We are still asking for that conversation for understanding. So if they do arrive here, we will work better together.
If your position has, evolved since you took office and took the position as sheriff, I should say, how has it evolved dealing with things escalating across the country that we're, the scenes that we're seeing, a little bit of it happening here with Border Patrol in the Charlotte area? Where do you see this play out?
Well, my stance has always been the same stance: cooperation and follow the law. So nothing has changed from that. The only reason that it had involved a little bit more is because when I sent the letter to ICE, this new leadership listened. This new leadership was willing to have a conversation face to face. So we moved to where we have better conversation, collaboration, and communication. That is all I've ever asked for each time that I requested that. Now, moving forward, we have no idea how this is going to play out now. If we look at these other cities, it is a third world country. We are fighting every night. We are fighting every morning. So hopefully that does not happen here. But what we see is going on, it could happen here. All we're asking for is to have a conversation, let us know the boundaries, let us know what you're going to do. And so we want to involved where we can have a better relationship with Border Patrol, or have a relationship with Border Patrol. But it is uncertain at this point.
All right. With that uncertainty, though, in the folks here in Mecklenburg County, really the greater Charlotte metro, how are we supposed to go day by day?
Well, I think that for the first time, the citizens of Mecklenburg County is experiencing the same thing that our undocumented and immigrant community have feared the whole time: fear. Now everyone's are in fear, and that's different from being scared. And so it is very hard to say what we should do moving forward, because we're moving into a part of unknown. We don't know. But I can tell you that we need to still have conversations, meetings, and have a plan of action for when Border Patrol does come back. We'll have a plan of action.
Also looking forward then again to the election, and now that that petition is behind you, you also have the hearing in front of the General Assembly next week. How are you preparing for that?
Well, we were asked to produce a multitude of documents, and all of those documents have been produced to the committee. So now we are preparing for this hearing. But the hearing should not have been targeted towards the sheriff's office, because we don't do certain law enforcement actions in Mecklenburg County. The Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office is not what they call a full-service sheriff's office. And what does that mean? We do not answer 911 calls. So we don't go into community and answer domestic violence calls or calls for service. That is directed to CMPD and the surrounding townships in their jurisdiction. So when we talk about the light rail, that should have been under the CMPD umbrella. But of course, we are in a political era. They want to talk to the sheriff of Mecklenburg County, and they have a chance to ask me a barrage of questions. So we prepared for that, but we stand with our brothers and sisters across the street, CMPD. If they're saying we want you to do more, we'll provide more funding, and we will also answer 911 calls and get more involved in the traditional law enforcement here in Mecklenburg County. We don't have a problem with it. If they want to fund it and they want to support it, this is maybe the time to have the conversation while we're in Raleigh, and not just say, you didn't do this and you didn't do that. If they want more law enforcement, then find the funding, pass the budget, because North Carolina is still the only state in the United States has not passed a budget. That is a significant problem, and we need to ask, why hasn't that happened? And if they passed the budget, and if you want to put funding in for Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office to do more in law enforcement and traditional law enforcement duties, we will well accept that.
Sheriff Garry McFadden, thank you as always for
Thank you.
joining us here in the Live Impact Studio. Hope to see you after, or perhaps before, your hearing
You'll
next
see me
week
before.
with state leaders. All right, appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.